Perfect. Okay. Welcome back to the Spiritual Uplevel Podcast. I'm your host, Jeri Cristine, and today my guest is Erin Stabile from my neck of the woods. She's from Iowa,
I don't know
fellow
if that should be
Iowa
celebrated
girl.
or like hidden, but whatever.
Yeah, yeah, you can be jealous that I'm in Florida today.
100%.
So, Erin, I am so excited to hear. We talked a little bit before we started recording, but I'm so excited to hear about what you do and have you tell your story to the guests. So, I wanted to read on your Facebook page, you say that you are guiding spiritual seekers to unlock and awaken intuitive and multidimensional abilities and soul's purpose. That is so beautiful. And I think that there is everybody listening wants to know their soul's purpose. So tell us a little bit about that. Like, how do you do it? And then I also want to know, how did you come to do this type of work?
Yeah, really that intuition, connection to self, your soul's purpose, it's very individual and it can shift over your lifetime. I've spent most of my 45, almost 46 in a couple weeks, in the corporate world. And I can't say that I loved it. My degrees are in graphic design, marketing, business development, and things like that. And I spent 25 years doing that. So, um, while I love the design and you know what I mean, the aspects and the technology, when I really kind of started my spiritual journey, I really learned that was like it just hits your soul, like that purpose. So a lot of people are seeking their purpose. They're trying to figure it out. They're going to people, and people can give you recommendations and suggestions. But you really also, like when I work with people, I want you to feel the energy of it. I want you to feel the energy of that past life or that cord or whatever it is that's holding you back, the trauma, the pain, the fear, the anxiety. I want you to feel it leaving your soul. And I want you to feel that connection to your purpose, to your power, to who you are, to what you do, to whether you want to do it paid, do it for yourself. It doesn't really matter. But if you want to just feed puppies or give people random cheeseburgers, like if you feel connected to that, like, that is part of your purpose, and when you spend your whole life like me, not really acknowledging emotion or feeling, and then when you start feeling those things, it's a whole different ball game, and I was 39 really before I started my spiritual journey, where I started to actually feel feelings and emotions and process things, so feeling that connection to what you're really supposed to be doing versus liking it and being good at it. You know what I mean? There's just a whole different energy of really connecting to who you are and what you really want to be doing in the world. And that connection to purpose, that multidimensionality is something that I love because um, I like to say it's where you get to finally be open. I do a lot of past life work. I do a lot of how I work with spirit and with people is who and whatever you need is allowed to come in as long as it's for your highest and best good. Yeah, sometimes people have yucky attachments and negative things that I have to remove, but when you start like what I like to say is when your mind fuckery is gone, then your ability to connect to spirit, to your power, to your purpose, to the multidimensional realm, to whatever else is out there, you're not overwhelmed with your anxiety, your panic, your what ifs, your mom crap, your work crap, your husband crap, your family crap. You have so much more control. So you're just more free. And what I like to say when I work with people, the less mindfuckery we have, the more is available to you. Your anxiety, your panic, your stress, your ADHD, all those are all things that I have and are part of me, depression, all of that stuff. So now that they're no longer the driver of my bus, everything else gets to come to light. Everything else, my connection to spirit is instant, it's fast, when I'm working with people, whether it's healing or mentoring, whatever, like I just know, it's just instant and immediate. I don't question it, I don't doubt it. And that is where you get to be when all of, whatever your trauma, your pain, your anxiety, whatever it is that you got going on, when it's no longer in control of you, then you're just free. You're free to do whatever you want, and it's a
So,
whole different
Erin, let
place.
me ask, so how do you do that? How do you, Erin, help people remove the mind fuckery, all that stuff, the anxiety, the
Yeah,
fear,
so
all that kind of
it's everybody's individual and everybody has a reason that they have, whether it's genetics, whether it's trauma, whatever it is, and when I work with people, I have a membership group, so there's a people in the group, but we kind of tackle those things individually because not, how my ADHD mind works and my anxiety, my panic is not the same as yours. It's not the same as somebody else's. So, I have like standard ways that I go about it, but we really customize it to you and what you need. Your spirit guides, my spirit guides, like, it's really that custom process. I'm very visual. I need to be able to see things, to feel things, to know things, and other people don't work that way. So, it's not a magic wand and it's not like you throw everybody into the same container because I think that these days, that's where a lot of people get lost. They don't get the help that they need. They don't develop their abilities the way that they need to. They don't get to reduce their stress and anxiety and mindfuckery like they should because you're jumping into a group program. Yeah, it might be cheaper, but you, and I say this because I've done it out of experience. I've done private mentoring, I've done group mentoring, I've done, high level crap. And what I learned for myself was I need individual. Being in a group for me doesn't work. So, on your journey too, you really have to figure out what works for you. You have to speak up for yourself. Like all of that comes in that process too. You have to speak up for what you need, and when you're used to staying in your trauma state, you're used to protecting yourself, surviving, not speaking up, staying safe, then, you don't speak up for yourself. You don't ask for what you need. You allow yourself to be steamrolled, like all of that stuff, So it's really all an individual where you're at, For me, like I created my methods of survival at starting 2 or 3, 4 years old. So, you learn to protect yourself at whatever state, whatever age, wherever you're at, and my stuff started early, and I had to learn to keep myself safe and keep myself fed and do all of those things and take care of my brother and protect and do all that stuff. So my natural ability was always to put others first because I never got what I ever needed in return, So it was just something that I learned, So what I had to learn to do was process. Spirit's like, you got to process. You can't stuff it down. There's no more stuffing. So whatever happens, I have to process it. So whether that's through past life work, I have some DNA activations that I use. There's shamanic stuff. There's, I am a Reiki master teacher. I don't really use Reiki much anymore. It's more kind of more galactic, more open, more light language, and more spirit driven, just who or whatever. But, it's really, I mean, I can pinpoint people in a line and say, this is what you need, this is what you need, this is what you need. But, I don't want anybody ever to go and say, oh, I'm just going to go take this group program because everything's going to be better. The chances of you having success from that are going to be very little unless that mentor, you know what I mean, takes an individual approach with you on your spiritual journey because
Yeah, I
your
found
how
the
you
same
develop
thing.
and how you use your abilities is we might do the exact same thing and do it completely differently. Everybody I mentor, we do the same thing, but we do it differently, So you have to
Yeah.
be able to have somebody to help you foster how you need to receive and break through whatever is preventing you, stopping you, like whether it's anxiety or fear or self-worth, whatever, like you have to be able to understand where your weaknesses are, where your strengths are, and you have to figure out how to, bring the mind fuckery down and bring your energy and your power, and you gotta have that balance. So it's not ever about too like being perfect. It's about figuring out, okay, why is this happening? What do I do about it? And addressing that stuff as it happens, the emotional, the trauma, the triggers. And it's about not letting that shit linger and, figuring out, okay, what's going on, even though it's a burden and it's a pain. But the more that you stuff that stuff down, it manifests in your body. You start becoming sick, you start becoming tired, your energy heavy, it's just the baggage and the burden.
Yeah. You've mentioned a couple times speaking up for yourself, and that even that I think is a huge, huge lesson for a lot of people, especially a lot of women, but a lot of people in general. We were taught to put others first and, you know, just deal with the whatever bullshit we
Yep.
were having to deal with, right? And then you also mentioned listening to yourself and your emotions and feeling if it's right for you or feeling into what you need. And that's another thing I feel like we're taught to deny our feelings.
Yeah.
I think I always, whenever I would hear that, I'm like, well, why would God give us feelings if we weren't supposed to pay attention to them? That doesn't make sense to me.
Yep.
So I love that it's very intuitive for you. You had mentioned you have several interesting modalities. When someone comes to you, are you being guided by your guides and their guides on how
Yeah,
to
so for
proceed?
me, how I work, I always enlist my guides are always, and then I always call in who or whatever they need. So if it's a session, whatever it is, um, and if it's people that I regularly work with, I just know their team, or if somebody new is coming in, whatever it is. But so like in my membership not long ago, we cleared actually all of our cords and ties, energy, this life, past life, realms and timelines in between, to guides. So that if we're holding on to a guide for a reason, emotional reason, whatever, but if there's new guides that are ready to come in, and I knew there was, and that's why we were doing it. So and then we cleared it, and then they took the next couple of weeks to reconnect to guides that were going to stick around. They were open and available for the new guides, having that energy. But like I like to do that with people too. Like, if you have a relationship or something, you can cut the cords to that person and not create new. Like all of
Yeah.
the energy and emotion of stuff with people and humans and spirit, there's so much to it. It's really, I like to make something simple. I do have ADHD. I cannot sit and meditate for 8 hours. Like if I cannot do something while I'm walking to the bathroom, going to the bathroom, like it's not going to happen. So like
I love
the way I like
that.
to help people is I like to make it fast, fun, and easy. Like connecting to spirit is easy. It is immediate. It is instant.
Yes, yes.
Something just fell down as soon as
Oh, wow.
my lights usually flash a lot. So spirit is
Something's
usually,
happening. No, I
spirit's
love
usually
that you
all up
said
in
that
there.
though, because so many people feel like it has to be this whole big deal. And the best healers that I know of that I've worked with, myself, always remind people like it's really not that hard. Like you can do it. I'm just here to guide you and like show you, like let you feel comfortable with the fact that it's real and it's simple. But if someone makes you feel like it's so hard and there's this whole entire process, it just isn't. Like I would even go so far to say that some of the long-standing like 1,000-year type of spiritual practices aren't necessary anymore. Like I feel like the veil has thinned so much that in the past you might need to meditate for 8 hours, like you said, with your hands in a certain mudra and say certain mantras in order to connect. But we don't need that today. Like
I
it's
mean, you
very
can make it as hard as you want. If you want it to be hard,
sure.
let it be hard. But
Yeah.
for me, and it's the same thing that I always say, like if you fall into the energy of retrograde, then it's going to affect you. If you fall into the energy of it's hard to connect to spirit, it's going to be hard. And that's something that I talk about a lot with people that I work with. You need to reprogram it. If as soon as that comes in, you got to stop it. Like you have to stop whatever. It's a fleeting thought. It's a negative. You're telling yourself like, why would spirit give me that? How would God talk to me? Like, if you're
Mhm.
telling yourself that, then you're never going to trust or really get really all of the powerful information or messages or healing that you're supposed to get because you're literally bitch slapping it right out of, spirit just dropped
Yeah,
it
you're
to you.
blocking
And
it for
oh
sure.
my ear's going crazy. So they're loving it. My right ear is my spirit guides. So they're really going to town. So yeah,
They
it's
want you to share something.
yeah, it's all about that, how your perception of it, and part of that mind fuckery is if you don't believe and you don't trust. So the first thing that I teach everybody I work with every day, you need to clear yourself of other people's energy, thoughts, feelings, emotions, actions, reactions. You need to clear yourself. You personally of the same things, and then you have to set your intentions for the day. You have to set your boundaries for the day, and then you let spirit protect you in whatever fucking way that it needs. You do not need to put on a 10,000 bubbles and ask for this. Just fucking tell spirit, protect me. Help me, support me, guide me in what I've asked for today, in every other way. I have like overall big boundaries and then 'cause work with spirit intentionally, but then you just ask spirit to guide you and support you in everything you ask for the day. You're asking your guides to come forward. You're asking them to be more present. You're asking for more signs, to feel it, to recognize it, whatever, and whatever your intentions are. I want to make $1 million today. I want to have better sex today. Whatever it is, you're setting your intentions for the day. And then, you're putting up your boundaries. One of my boundaries is, I'm not available for intentional or unintentional curses, cords, bindings, ties, this lifetime, past lifetime, realms, or timelines in between. Like sometimes people will have a negative thought about you and it can ping you. That energy can come back to you. You're on social media as a business owner. You're in life, especially this time of year where emotions and energy are all over the place, with Christmas and, all of that stuff. So, I have very strict and strong, and that's the first thing I teach people, if you don't start your day clearing yourself of whatever, and then, setting your intentions and your boundaries and protecting yourself, then you're fucked. You're going to go to work. You're going to pick up everybody's anxiety. You're going to be the dumpster fire. You're going to go home and you're going to be like, dude, you're getting cereal for supper because I got nothing left. Like, you're literally wasting 5 hours of your life, because you're so tired because you could have simply just protected your energy,
Oh,
cleared
wow.
yourself, protected your energy, so if you're in an environment where you're touching people all day, massage, hair, doctor, like you're literally, and I like to explain it to people like this, everything you touch has everybody's energy imprint. Money, door handles, toilet knobs, like whatever. I try not to think about it and be like a weird freak. I do have I have OCD tendencies that I push back, but you have to think about it as, everything you touch or do, there's an energy impact. So if you're not protecting yourself, like my panic attacks, anxiety attacks pretty much went to zero when I learned really strong energy protection and clearing. What I learned was my constant 24/7 panic and anxiety attacks, because for me it's my heart rate goes crazy, my heart goes crazy, then my lips start turning numb, and then I start blacking out, like, and that would
Wow.
happen multiple times a day from a very young age. So
Wow.
what happened was the more mindfuckery, the more I started to heal from trauma, the less, I was having that. And I just remember one day, like when you start losing weight or change a habit, like 2 months later you're like, oh my God, look, I'm thinner, or my pants are better, whatever. It was
Yeah.
just like all of a sudden I was like, oh my God, am I forgetting something? Why am I not constantly like overthinking or what ifing myself to death? And it was like, oh my God, and then when I started to learn, I think it was like 8, 9, 10 months after I really started my spiritual work, I started doing sessions on other people. And when I started to get the anxiety, the heart rate stuff kicking back up, I'm like, what the fuck? So what I learned was, I was picking up other people, when they were booking a
Yeah.
session, when they were asking me a question. So, I feel what you feel. I hear what you hear. I hear what you tell yourself. I hear what other people tell you. I hear what spirit, like I hear, know, feel, sense everything. But what I really learned was, oh my God, like I was really super affected by other people. So yeah, my anxiety and panic was bad, but it was really bad because I was also, taking on stuff from other people, and um, if people are just kind of new and they're kind of listening, if you are constantly like drained and overwhelmed, and, if you are fine and then you talk to Aunt Mary, office worker who is always complaining, and now you have a headache, now you feel bitchy, like you're literally just, you're there, you're a sponge, you're taking it in. So you need to protect yourself from being the energy dumpster, and those are just simple. I literally just did a reel about it today, the simple way. Like, even if you don't want to be a medium or, open your gifts and abilities, I don't ever say psychic because it's kind of blacklisted on social media. But, if you want to embrace and use your abilities, awesome. If you want to do it for business, even better, because that's what we're here for. But,
So,
simple.
Erin, let me ask you about that.
Yeah.
So you said you see, hear, feel, and know things. Have you always, or
Yes. I have.
okay,
I just didn't know it. So,
okay,
like I said, from a very young age, what I always did was just help other people. I could know something was going on without them saying anything. And I never really understood it. But I just knew that I could do it, and people, they're like, we could tell you anything and you won't tell other people. I'm like, yeah, because it's, I'm asking you because I know something is wrong. Like I could just feel it in my soul that something was wrong. I could sit next to a serial killer and they would spill their secrets. It's just something that's always been in me that I never ever understood, until I started my spiritual work. Then it made sense, But as a child, I always had vivid, scary dreams. I had premonitions. I knew things were going to happen. Like, I remember telling my mom one time, I think I was like 7. I was like, "Ooh, this boy's going to have this shirt on. He's going to be on his bike, and then he's going to like flip over the back of the car." And she looks at me real weird, and then like 3 minutes later, it happens, and she looked at me like, you know, what the fuck? And so I never told her again. But what I and my mom went away a lot as a young kid, and that was a lot of my start of my trauma. And I didn't know, but now that she's in spirit, almost 30 years now, but she was having experiences that she couldn't explain. She goes, I didn't have the internet. I didn't have people to talk to. I didn't, so she was going away to get help, to
yeah.
like zap her brain to not like see things or feel things or experience things,
Oh, wow.
So I think right now we're fortunate. My kids don't have to shut that out. I don't have to shut it out, but you know, understanding. I know there's a few points in my life where I remember hearing something I just didn't understand. I remember one time I was 12, they're like, you need to make a decision. And I'm like, why? And they're like, you are either going to have to survive or you're going to have to, not become addicted. And I'm like, what? I'm like, I'll survive. I didn't really understand, at 16, then my mom died. And so I understood the surviving more. And I think it was like 21, 22. I was drinking a lot. And I just heard in my mind, you need to make a decision because you're heading down that path of,
Mhm.
and there's just a few times in my life and it was I know now that it was really I was able to really hear spirit, but I didn't understand, until I was 39. So it's a bummer, but it was just, it was just how it needed to
God's
be.
timing, right?
Yep.
Well, what about people who don't have that experience? Like how do you help people feel comfortable that it's easy to have that connection if they haven't had it before?
So what I like to do when I work with people is usually spirit will tell me, they'll be like, oh, they're seeing this, they're experiencing this, they're hearing this. So, I kind of ask some leading questions and they'll kind of look at me weird. I'm like, yeah, that's spirit. So, it's really about making it easy, and when I say make it easy, do you hear stuff move? Do you hear the radio come on? Do you hear the tingling? Do you get a weird vibration? You know, do you know when somebody's lying? You just know, and say that's where I say it's really individual a lot, because it's kind of reading that person and individual, but especially when people kind of hit that spiritual awakening space, whether it's a loss, whether it's an age, whether it's whatever, they're just fucking sick of their life. They're ready, just like you move to a new state, that could trigger like a shift. But you start um having not being able to tolerate maybe people's behavior, like actions. Maybe you just used to go along or listen to people talk about political stuff or go to parties or keep saying yes to things. And all of a sudden you're just like, I can't with that person. I can't with these people. I can't keep saying yes. Like you physically and energetically, you just can't do it anymore, and you just kind of start having that shift. And a lot of people start feeling crazy in their spiritual awakening. You start
Yeah.
hearing things. You start having weird dreams. You start feeling like you're not alone. You start getting, ooh, I'm getting all the goosebumps everywhere. Like goosebumps. So for me, spirit goes into my right ear and randoms come in my left. So, there's and the ears are always different. Clicking, pings, loudness, talks, vibrations, actual sounds, actual words. Like it just all depends on the spirit too. But I'm developed. I've done this for years, so people start having these different experiences and they start feeling totally nuts. Like I feel like somebody's by me. I feel like somebody's talking to me. I feel like somebody's coming into my dreams. I feel like I keep hearing a name. Think my grandma, like, you start kind of having that shift and you don't know. And that's where it's really good to start, you either just kind of make that statement, I don't want this, turn it off, be done, or you start exploring it, and it's
Yeah.
100% up to you. Everybody has gifts and abilities. It's up how you want to use them, what way you want to use them. Hopefully you want to use them for good, but that's also a choice. You could use them to be shady because I know people do. But
Yeah.
it can really change your life because it's part of you and it's part of who you are. So most people have an innate ability to read people's situations, things, but depending on where you're at and where you've been, you just don't understand. My mom died at 16. Like I said, I stopped talking to God at 16. I grew up Catholic and I hated it because it was always a man telling me what to do, how to talk to God, how to be accepted, how to be, how to be part of the tribe, how to be forgiven. And I always thought it was total bullshit. And then when my mom died at 16, I was like, I'm done. I just stopped talking to God because I'm like, I need you. You took the one person, and I was like, fuck you. And when I started my spiritual work, he kind of came back around and it was really a huge pivotal thing for me because it was after I had been attuned to Reiki. I think it was Reiki 1. And when you do it, when you're attuned to Reiki, you're supposed to do self Reiki. And that was really how I started to connect to myself, connect to my body, to my soul, which I had never ever done intentionally. It's easier to stay in your unhealed place and just stay safe with no emotion. But I just remember I was doing a session and God put his hand on my shoulder and I was like, oh, now you fucking show up, you know? And he's like, I never left you. And I said, yeah, you did. You were never fucking there for me. And he goes, that's the thing. He goes, you were in so much pain. He goes, you didn't recognize that I was carrying you. I never left you. And it was instant tears for me because I felt it in my soul. I knew what he was saying was absolutely true, and that was where I reconnected with God. He helps me now every day. He helps me in sessions. He helps me, but it's that when I work with people, I want people to feel it, and
Yeah.
when he had done that and said that, it was like instant. I knew he was, it was the truth. Like he was carrying me because I was in so much pain, but you're so blinded by pain and grief and sadness and overwhelm that, and that's where a lot of people are at with their mind fuckery, with being shut off. Like
Sure.
you don't allow yourself to really be open and feel because it doesn't feel safe.
A question that I've had and I've had people that I work with ask is, how do you know that it's like God or spirit versus like your own mind? And I think what you just said is how I know. Like it's not something that your mind would come up with. And if it's God or spirit, it's never scary. Like there's never anxiety. It's always so loving and just something that you wouldn't have thought of at that moment in time in your own mind. Like there's no,
Yep. And I
yeah,
think too, part
so
of that is
beautiful.
is the trust, like you have to build trust with your guides, with spirit, with your intentions. Like my overall intentions with spirit are nothing or no one or nothing that is not for my highest and best good is, allowed in my space. And if they crowd in my space, my bouncer guide, he comes in. But I have one galactic being who, if something really negative is coming or around, like he kind of steps forward and tells me. At first I thought it was him doing it to me, but then, what I finally figured was it was actually him warning me. Because I do clear yucky things and yucky mentors and yucky energy. But I'm not open for them to be in my space or to take control or, so something that I do as well is as like with my kids, I really make sure that I clear and protect them. They know how to do it as well. But they're teenagers. So, when you're kind of that open lighthouse, you just have to have that extra protection. So, but having that energy with it. And that's why your intentions and boundaries, like life and spirit in general, and then your daily are really important because if you don't put those restrictions on, like one night I woke up and spirit knows they can't be within 6 feet of me. They cannot fucking wake me up. They cannot be standing over me, and then I have glasses, contacts, so I didn't have them on, and it was nighttime, and my TV, we just stream, so the screensaver comes on, and like this green that galactic being was coming up in my screen, and I was like, no, I was actually scared for once, and I was like, no. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? And they're like, you never said we couldn't be in the TV. And I'm like, are you serious? And I'm like, fine, you can't be in the TV. You can't be on the ceiling. You can't be, even if you're outside of the 6 feet. So, like, you have to be very literal with spirit. I'm like, no, no, absolutely not. So, putting up those boundaries is really important, but
Can you give our audience like uh the simplest method for protecting your boundaries and maybe like that you could do for your kids as well?
so like I always use pendulum. I like pendulum because I have ADHD. Um, and it just helps me to because otherwise I get distracted and then I have to keep doing it over and over. So like what I do is I just say clear me mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, and energetically, anything that, I need to clear, heal, remove, release, process, or understand. So then when my pendulum stops, then, but I also know because I feel it. Like if you don't feel like being let go or released, then there's something else there. That's where you got to dig a little bit.
Okay.
But then after I do that, I set my intentions, I set my boundaries, and then I just say, okay, spirit, protect me. So sometimes it's Metatron, sometimes it's my bouncer guide, sometimes it's galactic beings, sometimes it's a whole bunch of angels. I just say, please, help me with my intentions, with my boundaries, protect me, keep me safe, help me know and recognize things I need to know and recognize, but protect me mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, and energetically. And they just do whatever. I don't pay much attention because I don't care, because I trust that whatever they do is going to keep me safe. Now, is
Yeah.
that to say before, especially this time of year, before I go into Target, but I'm very, very well trained. I know before I go into a shit show full of people with crazy fucking energy where they're going to hit me with their carts and they're going to be rude as fuck, that I need extra protection. So I just say, protect me before I go in here. So sometimes they'll just put blue light, like electricity on me. Sometimes whatever it is, like just ask for it. Just say, okay, spirit guides, I'm going to go in here. I don't want to feel anybody else's energy or emotions or negativity, or I want to be able to get in, get out what I need. I want to not be, not want to throat punch somebody. I don't want to run somebody over. Like, I just want to get in and be in my own energy, my own thoughts, and then I want to be able to get out. So
I've
it's
heard
simple.
I've heard so many people too say that your spirit guides are just waiting for you to ask. Like they
Mhm.
want you to ask, and they don't really do things. I don't know if they can't do things or they're not allowed to, but they don't really do things unless you ask. And
Nope. So
so
that's why every day in
ask.
your intentions, you want to ask your guides to come forward, to protect you, to support you, to give you signs, your guides are always with you, whether you talk to them or not. So, and even as an experienced person, like I still forget sometimes. They're like, you gotta ask. Like we have free will, they can't intervene. So they can bring us things, they can drop things in front of us, but it's still up to us to take the ball, to receive, to allow. So I always tell people you have to ask, allow, and receive. So ask God, Spirit, Universe for what you want. You have to allow it to come into your life in whatever way, shape, or form they drop it to you. You know, if you want $5,000 and you're only going to accept $5,000 in a check, then you're fucked because you could have maybe got, $5,000 here, $5,000 there, but you put a restriction on, I only want it this way. Well, spirit could have brought you a whole bunch more. So you have to be open to how they bring it to you. It might not be exactly how you want or when you want or where you want, but if you really start having that mindset, that energy of allowing and receiving it when it comes, and recognizing, that's something I've been asking spirit lately. Make sure I recognize and receive, like I feel like I'm missing things. So they're like they always give me signs, but I'm like, yeah, but I don't want just the signs. I want the proof in the pudding. And so I keep asking spirit every day, like make sure I see what you're bringing me, that I'm receiving, that I'm understanding. So it's part of my
Right.
intentions. So you always have to ask your guides to come forward. And even if you don't necessarily know them by name, it's very simple to get to know them, but just know that they're always there to support you. Like you don't have to know them, like, be besties with them to ask them to support you. If you're my favorite thing to tell people is having an intention before you do anything. If it's a phone call with somebody that you hate, if you have to go in to have a meeting with your boss that you can't fucking stand, whatever it is, even if it's a good thing, like just set that intention. Spirit, help me get through this. Help me be able to speak my piece, speak my mind, speak up for myself without, I used to have to do this at my old job, speak up without getting upset because they always called me difficult. So I always ask spirit, like, help me get through this without, causing turmoil, without getting into an argument, without whatever it is. Help it just be a fun, easy, light conversation. Let me speak my truth, whatever I need. And you can do that with anything and everything. Family gatherings, going to meeting with your kids' school teacher, if they got in trouble, whatever it is, set that intention. Let this be easy. Let it be non-confrontational. Whatever it is, like let us get through this family event with no fights, no blood, no politics, whatever it is. But if those things happen, give me a way out. Help me get out quickly and easily, like so I'm not affected, whatever it is. Even if you have a narcissistic person at home, like please block me from their energy, from their emotion, from because you can clear yourself, you can clear your partner, you can clear your home. Like there's so many things that you can do to shift the energy in your space. You can't change somebody else, but you can protect against their energy, their thoughts, their feelings, their emotions.
That's
Um,
really good advice for sure. Useful anytime. We're recording this right before Christmas. It's going to come out later, but I'm saying, oh,
yep.
that's really good advice for the holidays.
It is, and it applies in any situation, wherever you're going.
Yeah,
It's, um, and it's knowing that you're strong enough to endure too. You don't have to take anybody's shit. And part of like us, I like to say us kind of being weak is we don't speak up for ourselves. We don't say no. We don't pull ourselves out of situations that make us uncomfortable. That's part
yeah,
of your boundaries. You have to start saying no. You have to start doing what's right for you. If going to your family event fucking causes you trauma and anxiety, then stop fucking going. You know what I mean? You have to, whether it's your event, your family's event, whatever, you're not obligated to go because they're family, because they're friends. If there's something in there that makes you, unhappy, then, put your intentions out there and don't allow it. You're not going to allow yourself to be fucking taken down. But if just going bothers you, stop saying yes. If you don't get that like fuck yes feeling, I want to do it, you gotta stop. And that's part of starting to honor yourself and putting up boundaries is you gotta stop putting yourself in situations where you're fucking going to be the underdog. You can have the intentions and the boundaries, but some situations, you're walking into a lion's den. So why do you keep doing it? You don't want to do it. You don't want to be there. You don't want to. So why do you keep making yourself do it? And that's part of like respect and boundaries and that learning process and that healing process. Like you don't have to take that shit. Like you don't have to. So, honoring
Yeah,
yourself in there.
that's good. That's so good. I think a lot of people are going to really appreciate your good advice and your fiery personality, Erin. So if our guests wanted to reach out to you or connect with you, how do they do that?
Yeah, so my website is vintagemoons.com and on most socials it's either Erin, Erin, Vintage Moons. I think Facebook, I use my personal profile more, but I do have it under Vintage Moons. And then, TikTok, Instagram, Pinterest,
Okay.
all of those places. But sessions, I have an individual session, private mentoring, 6 months to a year. I have a membership, and then I like a past life program. So if you want to learn to work in past lives, to clear past lives, to bring forward the good stuff, to clear the yucky stuff, for yourself, and then if you want to learn it for your business as well. Those are the main things that I have, but it's all under vintagemoons.com.
Okay. Moons with an S. I love that. That's a beautiful name. So I have two questions that I ask all of my guests before I let you go. And the first one is, what is a book that you recommend that all of our listeners read?
Hmm. Let's see. I don't know. Trying to think. I've got a ton of them.
You're like me. I have so many that I'm like, oh, what would I forget the names?
I do. There was one that's like I can't remember. It's like fuck yes or one that I really love. Dean Graziosi's. God, I can't remember any of them. I can't remember the titles. Like I can remember the like what they look like. This one from Dean Graziosi though, I did like it because it kind of painted the picture of um like reality. You know what I mean? But
Mhm.
uh one of my favorites is Edgar Casey because he was kind of the creator of past lives.
Yeah,
So, I really started by listening to his books, and I didn't really understand Akashic Records, past lives. But then I found one of his, like I think it was his first book, and I listened to kind of all of his books, and then that was where past life things it really started to make sense to me. I'd always anything with past lives, like I could touch old stuff and flashback, or
yeah,
we used to have a little prairie house where I lived, and then so the past life stuff really it just really called to me, so
yeah.
I really like his books.
He's
I like
he has
Audible, so
very
the voices
interesting
are
work.
weird, but
Yeah, it's hard to listen to sometimes. But Edgar Casey, he has very, very interesting work. Okay, my last question is, what is one thing that you wish everyone in the world knew?
I wish everybody knew that if they understood their energy, if they, understood the simple clearing your energy, protecting your energy, that it could really change your life every single day. Like your
Mhm.
anxiety, your panic, your depression, your trauma is yours. But when you start blocking out the outside world, then you start really understanding how deep and shitty your stuff really is. And you can start really working on yourself because what happens is we're so open that we're working on everybody's shit. We're never going to feel better because we're working on everybody's shit. When you
So
have
true.
the horse blinders on and you're only working on Aaron's shit, then everything gets easier. Is trauma easy? No. Is healing easy? No, it's lifelong. But when you're not trying to heal the world and you're just healing you, understanding, figuring out who you are, connecting to yourself, finding your purpose, like if it's only you, it's so much easier. And I just wish people understood that it can be easy. It takes time, it takes energy, it might take money if you want to work with somebody, but like giving yourself really that time and that energy, it's so powerful. It is literally the one thing that can change everybody's life without having to be a medium or an intuitive, but it can literally change your mindset, change your physical self, change your energy, all of that. Like it's the simplest thing. I like to say, like it's a simple thing to learn to do. It just takes routine and practice, to do it every day, to feel confident. But it will change your life
Wow.
relatively quickly.
That's awesome. I think that will inspire a lot of people to start doing that, myself included. I tend to meditate at night because I have small children, and that's just when the house is quiet. However, I'm gonna start doing it in the morning for this exact reason. Thank you for that.
Yep.
I've
And
really
I
enjoyed
like
knowing
I
all.
do mine in the morning and I do my son on the way to school. Like what I learned with teenagers was it was like 1 week, every single day I just wanted to murder people. I'm like, what is going on? It's like 7 o'clock in the morning. We are not morning people. None of us are. None of the three, me and my two kids. My husband's at work early, but what I learned was it was my kids. They're because they were teenagers, they were hormonal. Like I think my daughter was in middle school, almost high school. Um, so I started clearing them every day and protecting them. Totally changed the whole environment of our house. So the energy of
That's
others
amazing.
can totally affect your environment, yourself, your pets, your partner, your children, if you have parents that live with you, whatever, like, clearing yourself, clearing the home, clearing the individuals, like it can completely change the energy of an atmosphere instantly.
Oh, wow. I am definitely going to start doing that. That could be very useful in my house. Not just my life, but my house. But also, like you said, keep the blinders on and do your work, not everybody else's.
Yep. Even if you're a mom, I'm a mom, you have to start putting yourself first. You know what I mean? And always, like your
Yeah.
kids are always going to need you and whatever. But if you don't reverse that train and start putting you first, if you're totally fucked all the time, your kids are just going to be. My kids have anxiety and panic and ODD and OCD, and they have all of the things too. So navigating each child individually, navigating myself. But, like you have to navigate the whole everything as a mom. And if you don't put yourself first, if you feel like shit all the time, then everybody else is going to feel like shit. And when I
You got to
really
keep your
changed my
oxygen
life,
mask on first.
yeah, I changed all of that stuff. My family really changed. And I think the one thing I really noticed was one time my daughter or my son wanted something and my daughter was like, we're too broke, we're too poor for that. And I was like, oh, Jesus. And it was kind of right after I started my spiritual work. And I really learned that, you know what I mean? It was just that was just how we talked. That was what we did. So it was a big awakening and it was a big shift. So yeah, however you are, it does really impact your family. And, you know, it doesn't have to take all of this big stuff. It can be just simple, easy things. But, even as a mom of small kids, my kids are kind of teenagers now. So I want to say they're self-sufficient. I'd be lying, but, you know, um, don't use that as an excuse, don't use it as
Right,
an excuse.
right.
I'm busy. I have kids. They have, this stuff doesn't have to take long once you really understand it.
Yeah, that's so true. Thank you so much. I've really enjoyed this conversation today. I've
Me
learned so
too.
much from you, Erin.
Have a good
Thank you.
Christmas.
Thank you. You too. Bye. Oh, okay. There we go.